We are born free.
And we will die free.
The time in between, though,
that's complicated.
In that time, governments, institutions, and our egos will limit our ability to find true freedom in this life. These are real stories of real people overcoming the odds, persevering in justice, and unlocking their potential. Welcome to Finding Freedom. Here's your host, John Odermatt.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom here on the Lions of Liberty Podcast Network. Great to have you here, coming to you streaming live on a Monday afternoon for those on the East Coast, streaming at 12:22 live, streaming to Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. So thanks for joining. Of course, this will publish out to the main Lions of Liberty podcast feed as well, on your favorite podcatcher or on the Finding Freedom podcast feed. So however you listen to your podcast or watch along, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for supporting the Lions of Liberty podcast. Speaking of supporting, so I did want to recommend to all of you a new coffee that I've been drinking. As you guys know, longtime listeners, I used to have my own coffee business. Did not work out, which is fine, which is okay. I've had several businesses in the past that have failed, and that's going to be true for any entrepreneur, I think. But a coffee that I've been drinking is Fox and Sons coffee. Friend of mine, Stephen Fox, founded this company a few years ago. It's delicious. He makes sure that the sourcing is clean, organic coffee. The flavor that I've really been enjoying for the past few days here is the Electric Boogaloo coffee, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is a blend of their medium and bold coffee beans. So check it out. Go to foxandsons.com to pick up some Fox and Sons coffee. Okay, let's start talking about some stuff, some things happening in the world today. It's been crazy since Trump was inaugurated. That's a weird word to say, inaugurated. It's been like a fire hose of news. And a lot of it has been, these different executive orders that Trump has signed. I know people who work in the federal government who've been overwhelmed with, the changes coming through and, having to gasp, go back into the office and not work remotely, or at the very least make plans to do that eventually. So there's been, a lot of chaos surrounding things like that. Of course, there's been tragedy last week with the tragic plane crash in Washington that occurred between a American Airlines plane flying from Wichita, Kansas, which collided with a helicopter with a Black Hawk. So, there's have been some details that have come out around that. I'm not going to speculate about that or about the plane crash that occurred in northern Philadelphia, or I should say north of Philadelphia, just a few days after. The only thing I will say, and I'm not, getting conspiratorial on this, but just to put in perspective how crazy it is to have two plane crashes with significant loss of life. So I think the American Airlines flight colliding with a helicopter, I might be wrong, but I think 68. I think there were 65 on the plane and then 3 in the helicopter. So 68 perished. And then with the plane crash of the Learjet, the medical flight in Philadelphia, I believe there were 6 on board, all Mexican citizens. It was a a health flight, emergency flight. There was a surgery from a young girl that I believe happened in Philadelphia, and they were to be flying back to Mexico, but of course did not make it. So 6 lives from that flight who were on that plane perished, as well as I believe one on the ground, and there were several injured on the ground as well. And the only thing I will say about those flights is the statistical probabilities of 2 plane crashes with that much loss of life happening in that short time frame, that close to each other geographically, is so astronomically low. It's like it's not even like on the charts. So, not to say that I'm saying any nefarious factors were at play. I'm just saying from what we saw happen, like it's it doesn't even make sense that it could happen in in the way that it's played out. So it's hard to process, which I understand that it should be hard to process since it's so improbable that it actually occurred. But I think it's going to mess with a lot of people's minds, that which I think makes sense because our brains are trying to make sense of this. How did this happen? So we're trying to think of like any possible way, and that's why you get a lot of obviously conspiracies that enter the conversation. And who knows, maybe there were some nefarious factors at play. Maybe we'll find out about it, maybe we won't. But I'll just say, just based alone on the probabilities, I mean, it makes sense to ask questions. That's all I'm going to say, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so the other thing in the news today on Monday, February 3rd, that everybody's talking about is Trump's tariffs. Donald Trump, of course, put in place a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. And in response, Canada has put some tariffs on some U.S., some Canadian products for being imported into the U.S. So my thoughts around this. Right before I went live here today, it appears that Mexico has quote unquote folded. So Trump released on Truth Social that he spoke with the Mexican president and they had a friendly conversation wherein she agreed to supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating, on the U.S.-Mexican border. And these soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants into the country. So because of that, they agreed to pause the tariffs for 1 month while negotiations continue. Canada, that hasn't happened yet. That could happen later today. Whatever, leave the door open for that. I know Trump did say he spoke with Trudeau in the morning today on February 3rd and is supposed to speak again later this evening. So we'll see what comes with that. Couple things on tariffs that are very annoying to me. So let me just say this first. I understand that tariffs cause the price of goods to go up. Okay. I think most people understand that. Maybe they don't. Maybe most people don't understand that. But that is a fact. That's a reality. A tariff is a tax. All taxes will impact the price of the good or service which is being taxed. That goes for income tax. That goes for any sort of sales tax, anything like that. Corporate taxes are going to increase the price of goods that are in that supply chain of ultimately ending up in the hands of the consumer. Now, of course, leftists will ignore the corporate tax element of that, of corporate taxes impacting the price of goods. In this circumstance, Trumpers appear to be ignoring the fact that tariffs will increase the price of goods. Then you have libertarians who will just autistically screech, tariffs cause the price of goods to go up. That's true, but the problem with the libertarian argument, libertarians generally are pretty smart people, but they don't understand persuasion, they don't understand influence, and they don't understand that, yes, Donald Trump understands that this is going to impact the price of goods. He is a real estate developer. He understands economics. He understands structuring deals. He knows that if a tariff were to stay in place for a long time, that it would impact the price of goods that that tariff is touching. He's not an idiot. But he's not saying that because he's not stupid. So he's not, of course, he's going out there and during debates, he was saying that it's going to be great for the economy and tariffs are great for the economy. That doesn't mean he believes that because he's saying it. Okay. I'll say it again. Because Donald Trump was saying and campaigning that tariffs are going to be great for the economy doesn't mean that he believes it. Now, a lot of Trumpers thought that's what Trump believes. And you have a lot of Trumpers now in this weird position where they're saying tariffs are going to be great for the economy, when Trump is clearly utilizing these tariffs as a means to negotiate with Mexico and Canada. Clearly. I mean, we saw that play out today when Mexico negotiated back and is sending troops to the border and is apparently going to try to stop the flow of fentanyl into the United States and apparently try to stop the flow of illegal immigrants in the United States. We'll see what happens, but clearly, this was a negotiating tool on behalf of the Trump administration, and Trump, being a persuasion artist, understands that you don't get what you want by coming out and saying, I'm going to put tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and it's going to impact the prices, and the prices will go up for certain things we buy, but it's okay because I'm negotiating. No, that would be stupid to say that. Of course, he's not going to say that, which makes it so clear that libertarians are not cut out for politics. They're just not. I mean, libertarianism is a great political theory. It's a great way to view politics. It's a great way to test different political policy, economic policy, and explain economic policy. Well, that's more Austrian. Explaining economic policy to the left and the right through the lens of Austrian economics or through the lens of libertarian philosophy. But libertarians just don't get it, man. And this kind of takes me into what I wanted to talk about next, and that is the change in the chairmanship of the Libertarian Party. And, I've been a small L libertarian since, Ron Paul brought me into the Ron Paul revolution in 2007, I believe it. Yeah, 2007, I believe it was. So it's been a while. Of course, I supported Ron Paul then. I was a Ron Paul Republican, but eventually I joined the Libertarian Party. Eventually became active in the Libertarian Party, both locally and at the statewide level, helping to manage the campaign for a U.S. Senate candidate, Dale Kearns, in 2018. And there was a time when I was very supportive of the Libertarian Party, both from donating my time and my money. That time has passed. I no longer think the Libertarian Party as a political vehicle is a way to really make change in the United States. So with that being said, the previous chair of the Libertarian Party, who just resigned within the past week, 10 days, Angela McArdle, I do think was the most successful Libertarian chair that I've seen since I've been paying attention, and it's not close, with the feat alone of getting a full unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht. Now, people give Angela crap because, she said friendly things about Donald Trump, and she made Donald Trump a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party. Whatever, is what it is. I supported Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump because I feel Donald Trump was 100 times better than anyone else, including the Libertarian candidate, and voting for Libertarian candidate Chase Oliver was going to be a complete waste of your vote. With that being said, I would much rather have Angela or someone like Angela as a chair of the Libertarian Party who is going to use the party as a way to communicate the ideas of libertarianism, as a way to act as a mirror, to hold up a mirror where you can reflect and really criticize and judge the policies of those on the left and those on the right against the libertarian ideology. What I think is a waste of time, I'll get to that in a minute. Before I get to a waste of time, I do want to talk about the new chair for the Libertarian Party, because this is going to tie together. Waste of time is going to tie right into this. So Stephen Nekalia, I don't know how to say his name. I'll be honest, first time I ever saw his name was when he became chair of the Libertarian Party, and I saw the tweet go out, and I said, who? And I looked at his Twitter, and I said, what? He hasn't said anything. So I don't know anything about this guy. The only thing I know about him is what he tweeted after he became the chair of the Libertarian Party. He tweeted, damn, I guess I better start using X. I've been sane this long. Might as well try something new. Not even sure what that means. Honored to be elected chair of the Libertarian National Committee. It's time to take the LP to the next level. More fundraising, more candidates, and real political wins. So I'll say this. More candidates is a waste of time and money. That was the slogan for the Libertarian Party when I was involved in 2018. And I did not understand this. Running candidates, just to run candidates in all the races you can run candidates in, does not develop any of the skills that you need to be a successful political party. It dilutes the resources that you need to win races or to impact races that you could maybe impact. So this stupid strategy of running as many candidates as possible, all it does is waste people's time and waste people's money, keeps the Libertarian Party irrelevant, and just gives, those who, have been, not excluded, but they've voluntarily chosen not to take part in the Democrat or Republican politics. It's given them a home and a social club, where they can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and say, look at us, we're all libertarians and we all hate each other, but at least we're here and together. That's what the Libertarian Party is going to become again, I think, with this Stephen Nekalia guy. And I'm just going based off of a tweet, and simply because he said more candidates, because more candidates is not a recipe for being an impactful Libertarian Party, and it's not a recipe for real political wins. All right, I'll leave it at that. That's it on the Libertarian Party. I'm sure Brian McWilliams, my colleague here at Lions of Liberty, who is the communications director for the Libertarian Party, I'm sure he'll have more to share in the coming weeks and months. So I won't say anything else. Brian can speak for himself. Next, on to the Democrats. The Democrats also elected a new chair, and unsurprisingly, they elected, or I guess nominated. I guess you still say elected. Yeah. The whitest guy maybe I've ever seen in my life, Ken Martin, who I've never heard of. And if you want to know how white Ken Martin is, and I wasn't going to play any videos today, but I'll play one. Why not? If you want to see just how goofy this guy is, he's Tim Walz. He's just another version of Tim Walz. So let's share how white this guy is. Here is Ken Martin. This is like, I guess 2020, 2021 timeframe. It's just him doing some stupid waddle back and forth, doing the TikTok point to different things like stimulus checks, vaccines, masks. It's just the most cringeworthy thing you'll see. And the problem with the Democrat Party for years has been that it's become a party of women, really only identifies with women. It does nothing to address the desires and the problems that young men have in this country. Men, but especially young men. So in order to combat that, they've elected this guy as the chairman, who is probably even more feminine than Tim Walz, and David Hogg, who, as described in the Zero Hedge article about this, the noodle-armed leftist perpetual meme target who definitely exploited his status as a student at a school victimized by a mass shooter, becoming a gun control activist and snagging a Harvard acceptance letter. On Saturday, he persuaded delegates that he's just the man to win back many young men and women who abandoned the Democratic nuthouse in November. If David Hogg is the response to the thrashing that Democrats got in November at the hands of Donald Trump, my God, the midterms in 2 years, wow, look out. It's going to be a bloodbath. I don't mean a bloodbath that way. Oh no. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I did the Donald Trump bloodbath comment. I don't mean bloodbath. It's going to be a tidal wave, a tsunami of votes, not a literal tsunami, not a literal tidal wave, and not a literal bloodbath. The Democrats are going to lose, and they're going to lose bigly with these two feminine men leading their party. And I'm glad they're there, and I'm glad they were elected. Okay, next up, I want to talk about the real estate market. Now, basically, that's what I do for most of what I do. It's either health, I have a health supplement business, and I have a real estate business, which the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been doing a ton of work to get this off the ground. That's why my interviews, being candid, have been lacking. I haven't been doing as many interviews for Finding Freedom. That'll be changing in the coming weeks. I got a bunch lined up. I was supposed to have one this week, but we had to rearrange schedules with my guest. But more interviews are coming on this show. But because I've just been putting so much time into my real estate business, I haven't been putting as much focus on finding guests for this show. So that's why I'm talking to you today about the news and about the real estate market. So what's happening in the real estate market? Like, what I do for a lot of my work now is I spend time talking to real estate agents, talking about listings, especially listings that are not moving, especially listings that have been on the market for more than 100 days. And what we have right now in the real estate market is the highest inventory of homes that we've had in years. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is, well, I guess there's two different kinds of listings that really are not moving. Two different types of sellers, I should say, not listings, because that's not the right term. Two different types of sellers. You have your low equity sellers, and you have your high equity sellers who are married to a number. So your low equity sellers, maybe they bought a house in anywhere from, I don't know, 2018 to 2022. And it could even be more recently, 2023, even 2024. I've seen houses like this, but those people are really screwed because their rate sucks. So people who bought a house recently, maybe it was a VA loan, maybe an FHA loan. So not much of a down payment, if any at all. And so they haven't built up any equity in their house. And the housing market in most parts of the country has not been going up that much in the past 2 years. So say they bought a house in 2022 and they're selling it now in early 2025, and the value of their house is the same. It hasn't gone up at all. And a lot of people look at that and go, oh, so they'll just break even when they sell. No, they won't break even when they sell. If the prices are the same, they're going to lose money, and they're going to have to come out of pocket in order to sell their house because they got to pay closing costs. They got to pay real estate commissions. There could be things, depending on the loan type, depending on inspection reports, where they have to fix things in their house in order to sell it. So if they're selling for the same price, they are losing money. People don't want to lose money. So people end up with that low equity trap. They end up just waiting and waiting and waiting for someone to come up to the price, which is not a market price. It's a price they need. And people end up in a situation where they end up having to drop and lose money. Now, there's ways around this, and that's a lot of what I do with creative finance. So if you have me a real estate agent listening to this and you have listings like this, you need more tools in your tool belt, and you should talk to me about how to move those listings. I'm not going to get into the details of it here. Geez, I got a frog in my throat. Excuse me. And of course, no water. That was stupid. Did not bring any water in front of me. The second type of trap is the high equity trap, where you have people who've been in a house for 20, 30, 40 years, and they want to downsize. And they saw their neighbor sell their house a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago for some ungodly number, $700,000 in a neighborhood that should not be selling for that much. And they want to sell for that same price today when rates are higher and the market hasn't really changed that much. And they're not going to get that price unless they're willing to sell or finance some of it in order to get up to that price, which a lot of people just aren't, because they want all that cash in their pocket at closing, which is fine. But if they want a number, they got to be flexible and creative in how they get there. So that's two of the things that are holding up the market. The other thing is you have this glut of new homes that have been built, much like what happened in the early 2000s, where these home builders can't move these homes. So you have prices going down and the margins shrinking for home builders. When the margins shrink for home builders, you're going to see eventually less homes being built. You're going to see construction layoffs, things like that. And there's a very good chance you're going to see another recession. So what does this mean? Well, I don't think we're entering like a 2008 recession, depression type scenario. I think more so regionally, in the South, especially Florida, Texas, Georgia, states, particularly in suburban areas around large cities that have really overbuilt with new housing in the past few years. I think you might be in for a tough time in some of those markets. If you work in if you work as a real estate agent, if you work in construction, things like that. If you work as a real estate investor, you're probably going to have some pretty good deals, and it's probably going to end up being a pretty good time to buy, because things have gotten way out of alignment in real estate with higher rates. If real estate investors want to buy houses to rent them out, it's reached a point, unless you get creative, where the rate, what you're paying monthly for your PITI, principal, interest, tax, and insurance, what you're paying monthly for that is not matching up with what you can charge for rent in a lot of these markets. So that's another thing that is that's constraining people, and it's constraining the real estate market. But that's just where we are. And I do have to jump on a call here in about 2 minutes. But before I go, I did want to leave you with one more thing. So at the beginning of the year, I talked about my goals for this show. I wanted to focus a little bit on politics, about 20%. I wanted to focus on business, and I wanted to focus on health. So this episode will have all three. We talked politics, we talked real estate, we talked business, and we're going to talk health last. We're going to talk about a supplement that, quite honestly, I think everybody should be taking if you're not taking it. And that supplement is one that has been, I think over the years, I think it's been misunderstood. We'll say that. I think it's been misunderstood. I'm talking about creatine. A lot of people don't understand that creatine is the most researched supplement of all supplements. It's been studied for 50 years, and it's basically been proven to be effective. And creatine is a natural compound. I mean, you get amounts of it when you're eating meat. Highest concentration is in red meat, and there's 2 grams of creatine for every 1 pound of red meat that you eat. But there's benefits to consuming creatine as a supplement way in excess, maybe not way in excess, but in excess of that. There's debate around when's the best time, excuse me, to take creatine, pre-workout, post-workout. I would say even if you don't work out, you can benefit from taking creatine. I lean towards just putting my creatine in with my hydration drink while I'm working out. So I'm kind of drinking it before, during, and after my workout. But you really can't go wrong whatever time of day you choose to consume creatine. So creatine works by recycling ATP, which is your body's energy source. So the more creatine stored in muscle, the more energy that's available for working that muscle. So creatine over time improves your athletic performance. So you've heard maybe in the past that creatine can be damaging to the kidneys. It's not true. Creatine has been studied for decades, and it's one of the safest, most reliable supplements available. It's great for reproductive health. It's great for your eye health, digestive, skin, and your brain health. It's great for cognitive function. That's why I'm saying that even if you don't work out, you should supplement with creatine. And you don't have to take a loading dose with creatine. I remember when I was a kid in high school, people would be taking creatine and they'll load up and take, something like 20 grams a day for 4 or 5 days at the beginning of starting to take creatine. You don't have to do that. You can start with, 2 to 5 grams a day and just take that. And you just continue. You just start with that and keep taking that. You don't have to take more than 2 to 5 grams of creatine a day. You're going to get benefits just from doing that. So because creatine helps to preserve muscle mass, and because muscle mass is so important in boosting your metabolism, creatine helps with weight loss. And it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. As you age, we lose more muscle. We lose this after the age of, I think 30, we lose a certain percentage of muscle every single year. So if you're able to maintain that muscle, you are more likely to not become some, flabby fat person when you get older. And creatine increases the need for water and electrolytes. So because creatine drives water into your muscles, that's why you do get a little bit more of a pump. You get larger muscles when you're taking creatine, which is good. You're going to have to consume more electrolytes, more sodium, more potassium, more calcium, more H2O, more water while you're taking creatine. So hopefully, if you're somebody who is either working out or not working out, if you're looking for a safe supplement to help you, check out creatine. This isn't a pitch. This isn't a thing where I say use an affiliate link. I would just say go on Amazon or go to a local health store and find a creatine supplement that is clean, that has nothing else in it. You don't need any flavors. You don't need any sugars, any artificial sweeteners, anything. You just need clean creatine. That's all you need, and you'll be good to go. All right. Well, that is it for the show today. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please, if you like this show, if you like our show on Wednesday with Brian McWilliams, if you like any of the work that we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon or on Locals. We've got some new patrons recently, and I know that we're planning on having a new bonus secrets, lies, and cover-ups episode coming up soon, where I think we're going to be talking about Trudeau and Castro and the conspiracy that Trudeau's mom had an affair with Castro, and Trudeau is actually Castro's son. So we'll get back into that, and I will see you guys all next week. I'll have an interview. I'll have a guest. So we'll get back in the swing of that for the next few weeks, and I will talk to you all later. In the meantime, always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.